Hello, I'm Mike and welcome to my sort of disheveled workshop. As you can see, it's been pretty busy here. So for this week's video, I'm going back into the archives and giving you a full-length video on how I made this. My wide radius compass. Trust me, this is a tool you're going to want to have in your workshop. It's one of those things, I say it in the video later on, this is one of these times where I'm going to make something and use it once. But as it turns out, I've used this all the time. Because you're always going to need to strike. You're always going to need to strike a wide radius on a compass. So, let's roll the intro and get down to it. Right, so this is one of those times where I'm going to make something very, very quickly to do this one job and probably never throw it out. So, I shall bring you down. Down, deeper and down. So, all a compass is, and that one is now missing its lead, 2 points. Sharp point, which is your turning point, and a marquee point. These are all technical terms. So, I'm going to very simply make myself a compass out of this. Need a tool, make a tool. Right. So, I'm not going to go anything mad. Just going to cut my compass points about an inch wide, or my legs of the compass are about an inch wide. Run them off in the bandsaw. I'm just going to drill a hole to the 2 points. And, Robert your mother's brother. So I start here by stripping these off to the inch width that I want, and then because at the end I want 2 matching pieces, I tape them together to further cut the angles on the side and the dome on the top. This just helps with marking so you have less interference. So with that done, I just plane them up to make them the same size and then smooth that dome at the top. That curve at the top is where it's going to sit in your hand. And it's very important that that doesn't have any sharp edges, that it feels and seats well. So I still have these taped together because the last step we're going to do here is drill our pivot hole. So I've eyeballed this at roughly the center of that curve. And for my pivot, I'm just going to use these machine bolts that have a nice flat face, which means that they'll tighten and cinch well. And in coordination with that then I'll also use a few washers to give me both movement in between them and a clamp down on the outside. So I'm just going to hand tighten this now. That has a nice bit of friction. We'll move. So now time to get pointies. To do this, I'm going to go very simple. I'm going to use a 60mm screw, lop it off, and then sharpen it to a point. So I'm going to pick the slightly smaller of the 2 sides here and pre-built drill. That means then, because I'm going to end grain here, it shouldn't split. Again, this is slightly off, but again, quick job. A little super glue around it, just to lock it in. So I use the cut-off wheel on my rotary tool and my belt grinder here to cut down my pivot and make it pointy, but you can do it with a hacksaw and a file, no problem at all. So the very last step here is to cut a groove for our pencil or marker or whatever we're going to be using this pivot for. This is very simple. All I'm going to do here is mark down the edges and chisel out the middle, and then I'll be holding the pen or pencil in place just using a piece of tape or maybe in the future a pipe clamp. So we'll give you a really quick snap, 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 snap version of that. So that's pretty much so it. This is a very simple job. It took me maybe 15 or 20 minutes and it works really well. You can see here it works. I have a pencil in, and then I'll give an example here in a second of it using a marker. It's a very handy little tool to have and makes work easier around the shop. So, as I always say, like, share, subscribe and all that fun stuff. And absolutely do try this at home. And remember, sometimes if you need a tool, the best thing to do is to make a tool.